everyone. This is Amy LeBlanc with Rise and Thrive, where we are talking to real estate and business masters in the Baton Rouge area and really digging in to bring you some information on the community and just things you don't know about. So today I have Tommy Veenendaal. He is the superintendent for LA residential properties.
Right.
And
I also work for JBW Properties as the land and development manager. I seek out properties for us to develop for our other companies that we actually build.
And you are a licensed real estate agent?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the consulting side of it, we were talking a little bit before. Tell me a little bit more about what you can help a potential
So on the consulting side is on not only on the real estate aspect, but I also do consulting. So if you wanted to build your own home and you were like, man, this process is overwhelming, you can contact us. We'll come in, sit down with you, and we'll get you lined out on what you need to do. We do charge a small fee for the consulting and that, but it's cheaper than probably hiring a typical builder to go out and do that. We can save you some money there because obviously if you do things yourself, you can save some money. So
right.
we do that part of it. We develop, we build houses and subdivisions. So we kind of do it all. We
awesome.
Also have a division of our company that does remodels and everything like that with Parish Home Properties and Jacob Really. So there's just a lot of things that we do.
Awesome. No, that's amazing. I didn't really know you did all that. So, and then I know that we want to talk about the moratorium in Livingston Parish where we can't put any more new development out there. So you know a lot about this, and I know you have a strong opinion, but I want to pick your brain. When did this moratorium take effect? And
so the moratorium was put into effect this year. It was introduced when the new council came in and everything like that, and it's on no new proposed sites. If you have a development that you want to do in Livingston Parish right now, to sum it up, you can't go out there and present it to them. They're not looking at anything.
How long do we think this is going to last for?
Well, currently the administration said 12 months. I've spoke with some of the people in the administration that say that we're going to be coming out the moratorium, but
by the end of the year, maybe?
Possibly.
What was the purpose of the moratorium?
Everybody has their opinion of what the purpose is, but the purpose is for them to allow them to do the zoning and mapping in Livingston Parish. Currently, right now, only a few districts are zoned and have the zoning that I guess they want.
Okay.
So they wanted to put a moratorium in place, stop all development, and get all the zoning in place, and then lift it.
Well, I remember when Ascension Parish was growing really fast. We never had a moratorium that I can remember, but I do know that the residents, most of the residents in Ascension Parish were, like too much building going on, too much building, too much traffic, too much this. So why do you think, what do you think the opposition?
Well, I just think that the public is not fully educated on the value of development in their parish. If your parish is not growing, it's dying. And for Livingston Parish, people want to always compare Livingston Parish to Ascension. Can't do that. You guys have industry beyond industry, millions of dollars in tax revenue coming in every month. Livingston Parish doesn't have that. Livingston Parish, 68% of our revenue that goes to fund our schools, drainage, all that, comes from tax dollars, comes from property taxes. 68%. So where do you go if you shut that revenue stream down? I mean, as we all know, with inflation and the way that the economy is, everything's getting more expensive. So I don't know, but that's but back to your question, you were asking why do I think that they shut it down? It's just I think that there's a few people there that just don't like all the growth and the traffic, and obviously 2016 flood had a lot to do with that, but you got to move past that. I know that a lot of people are still to this day affected by that, but I mean we got to come out of that. We got to move on and get back to business.
Yeah. Well, what do you're as a developer and being in that business, how has this affected you, and what's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's definitely affected us in the way that we're currently not seeking to. I mean, we're always looking, but Livingston Parish has always been somewhere that we look. But now we're looking outside of Livingston Parish. We're looking into other states where developers are welcome, where they're making it easier on us to come in and do business. Versus the regulations and the red tape and the permitting and all that they continue to pile on top of us. It's just made our job harder and harder. And
Yeah.
it's really, from a real estate standpoint too, it's driven the cost of housing up. Everybody's like, oh, houses are this. Well, that's because there's so much red tape. Like in anything. I mean, the permitting alone. I mean, I could go on and on. You're looking at 15,000 just to get utilities to a house. Between sewer impact fees, gas lines, water lines, sewer. I mean, that's just it's the increase in the land cost. So.
Yeah. Well, what do you think other realtors? How do you think they feel about this?
Well, that's one of the reasons I agreed to do your podcast, Amy, and that is because I want to let other realtors know and other people that they got to get involved. Mm-hmm. They have got to get involved with going to some of these council meetings, going to these ordinance meetings, and learning what's going on in our parish. As a realtor, I can tell you this. A lot of agents today are not educated on what's going on with the moratorium, with the ordinances they're passing, and their misrepresentation of some of the property uses that they have. Mm-hmm. Like I've seen agents post, great investment property. Mm-hmm. It may have been at one point, but today with the way things have changed, it's maybe not a good investment property. So you maybe need to look at other avenues on how to market your property to sell it.
Right.
Because not every piece of property, just because it's 20 acres and it's flood zone X and all that, makes sense to develop.
What else can they do with that property? I mean,
recreational. I mean, there's other things you can do. You could split it into other things. I mean, I don't really want to speak for what somebody can do with their property, but I think that if you're going to present it as investment property, you should know what investments that they can make it.
Yes.
I mean, if you're saying, hey, this is great for developers, we should be able to answer some simple questions when a developer calls you, like, does it have wetlands? What is the permitting on it? Sewers, mm-hmm. Utilities, mm-hmm. things like that. Just mm-hmm. normal information that you would expect somebody to know.
Yeah. I mean, I think those are, every property has those aspects, the survey lines and, mm-hmm. Whatever. So those are all things that a realtor should know, right? About any property that they're listing or any property that they're researching for a buyer. Because you can just because there's a property there, there's a lot of, like you said, red tape and all the things behind the scenes that mm-hmm. go on and what that property can be used for.
Right.
I didn't even really think about those things either as to what, all the things that you mentioned regarding a property that you may want to develop on because,
Right. Well, so what we need is we need more realtors to get involved in what's going on with development. Okay?
Yeah.
Developers need realtors to a certain aspect of it. We need you to sell our product. But there's going to come a point to where if realtors are not standing side by side, shoulder to shoulder with the developers and fighting, the developers are going to let them go on the wayside. And we're already seeing a whole shift in the realtor, buyer, seller relationships with all the lawsuits and everything. So I think, if realtors want to be more, I don't know what the word is.
Necessary.
They need to be, not necessary, because I think, there's always a need for them. But if they want to, continue to protect their industry, mm-hmm. they're going to have to stand side by side with a developer and real estate, people that are trying to develop these things. I see too many things where, I'll give you an example. I seen a realtor just today. She posted something on her Facebook about a development that's coming up. And I won't say too much about who she is or where it is and that because you guys will be able to figure it out. But she posted something about she was against it.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself that, you're a realtor. The more development is just more opportunities for you. And for you to be like, oh no, I don't think this is good. I don't think there's a demand. Well, let me tell you, if a developer has spent enough money that it's made it to the council on that, they see value in it. Yeah. Somebody's convinced them that it can be done. Yes. Now, whether you don't think it's a good fit for your area or whatever,
that's leans more toward the personal side of it, the emotional side, and not the business side. And now, I might be opening a can of worms here, but I really am curious what your thoughts are on the DSLD and the DR Horton developments, and how does that affect you, or does it not really affect you?
The fact is, look, they're in it to make money. We're in it to make money. Okay, I'm never going to talk bad about my competition, but I know this: we're fighting the same fight.
Yeah.
They're facing the same challenges that we're facing. They just might have a lot more money than me. But at the end of the day, anything that affects them, a lot of people say, well, we just don't want DSLD and we don't want DR Horton or we don't want these in there. Okay, that's fine. But you can't have your cake and eat it too. Anything, when you make a rule or something that affects them, it affects me.
Yeah.
The only difference is that sometimes they got the money to fight you on.
Well,
yeah, look, would it ultimately benefit me if they threw them all out of here and told them to leave and there was no DR Horton and DSLD? Yeah, it'd be great. But that's not the reality.
Right.
And the reality is that, they deserve the same opportunities that we deserve. And you can't aim a gun at them and shoot at them and not accidentally hit the small guy.
I wonder if people, when they think of development, they do think like those big box builders.
They do.
And that's why they're against it. I think that people have opinions on those particular builders.
Do people get as mad when they see a 300 apartment complex go up? No, you really don't hear people gripe about that. But let's think about the burden that puts on your parish. So now I got 300 units, but all those units have kids. They go to school now. Guess what they're not paying? They're not paying property taxes. So they're not contributing, but they are a burden on our parish and a strain on our resources. So if you want to be against anything, let's stop building these massive apartment complexes where we're not generating enough tax revenue to continue. At least I can say this: if somebody buys a house that's built by DR Horton or DSLD, with the property taxes, they're paying their way. They're paying for their kids to be in school in that parish. So they deserve, so at least it's contributing.
Yeah. I see your point on that.
So, look, there's so many things out there. People want to say it's the flooding and the neighborhoods are flooding and this.
Yeah, and traffic
traffic's bad. Traffic's bad everywhere.
Traffic is bad everywhere. You can't get away from it anymore.
Just leave 15 minutes early. That's all I can tell you. But
there are strides being made to correct those, but those are not overnight occurrences.
Nowhere in this country have they ever went out and built a bunch of roads and all this and then said, okay, now bring the houses. That's redundant. That's the infrastructure is gonna come. It may be behind, but eventually it will catch up. It will be added. So that's the thing. But on the flooding aspect and what's going on with that, that's bigger issues. That's things that have to do with the Amite River and Lake Maurepas and the drainage and the Corps of Engineers and all that. I seen a statistic the other day that said somewhere that in like 1970, where the Amite River dumps into Lake Maurepas, it was like 28 foot deep right there, almost 30 foot deep. They say today it's like 4 foot deep. It's filled up with that much sediment. So obviously that's a problem. If the water can't get out, and backwater flows up and all that. So,
I think that's in my opinion, an economic problem because we're here in Louisiana where we have the Mississippi River and all these tributaries that lead to the Gulf and everything, but those are all flowing down from other parts of the country. So
all the water from East Baton Rouge right here goes to Livingston Parish.
yeah.
You know?
So it's hard to avoid this problem, and it's hard to fix it because it's not just our problem. It's it's a a countrywide issue. I think that we just happen to be where geographically located where we are, where this is a bigger problem than other parts. And if you're going to live here, you're gonna have to deal with the flood zones and the flood insurance and whatever else. But I do think that.
I mean, look, you move to Florida, you deal with hurricanes. You got to buy hurricane insurance. I mean, it's just what it is, you know. But shutting down development and completely just saying we don't want it, that's not the answer.
So do you think that a lot of people are in agreement with the ordinance, or
I would say, yeah, I would say a lot of people, but I think it's due to the
lack
misconception. That they don't understand the value, or they don't see the value in what development brings. It brings jobs. It brings money to your parish.
Businesses.
In Livingston Parish, teachers haven't got a pay raise. We've heard about that and all that. Well, where's that money going to come from? I mean, it has to come from somewhere. And if we're not building any more houses or any more developments and stuff like that, well, then that's just less income for the parish.
There's a lot of, this is another thing that I think of, there's a lot of land to develop in Livingston Parish.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of area there to grow and, build new communities. And I think that's a good thing. To diversify.
We need to do a better job of bringing in the businesses. That's what we really need to Livingston Parish. And I don't think that they're doing enough to try to encourage companies to come, bigger companies. Give some tax incentives. I know that when Bass Pro came, they gave Bass Pro. Well, now it's the city of Denham Springs, but there's things they can do. They can be. I think they have more money and better resources would be spent trying to bring in money and resources to the parish than to try to keep it out.
Yeah, and I definitely don't see businesses saying, "Oh, there's a moratorium in Livingston Parish. Let's go build out there."
Yeah.
Because there's no growth happening at the moment. So yeah, I could see where there's a laundry list of pros and cons. And that definitely being a con, that businesses aren't going to see that as a good option right now. They're going to go somewhere else.
No, I mean, that's one of the. I mean, look, it's one of the challenges that's facing in Orange Beach right now. I mean, they grew so fast with their luxury condos and housing that they don't have enough housing over there for their people who do maintenance work, janitorial work, things like that. So they're the total opposite of us. They're trying to grow. They're encouraging development and stuff like that. But we're just over here saying no. But we were talking about this earlier, and this is what I really want to touch on: agents getting involved.
Okay, let's talk about that.
We need more agents getting involved in what's going on in their parish, with their council members, with their agendas and things like that. If this industry is to survive and to keep going, they have to stand shoulder to shoulder with developers and back them. That's something that's got to be done. I mean, we got to take the fight together.
Yeah. And to stand shoulder to shoulder, but understand what is going on, what can they do to be involved and educated more on it. Because if they're helping a buyer move into Livingston Parish, this is, these might be questions they get asked. I mean, I do, of course, the lending side, but I do have people ask me sometimes certain things
we need lenders to get involved as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is helping me understand it too better because I think
the whole industry in a whole. When I just and I don't mean to pick on realtors, but I'm talking about everybody that's involved in the business. From the title company where we're here today at Phoenix Title.
Correct.
We appreciate them.
Yes.
Letting us film here today, but they're getting involved with this. You're getting involved. You know,
Yeah.
it's going to take everybody, home inspectors, everybody's going to have to get involved because we're all
That's their
part
bread
of
and
this
butter.
industry.
Yeah.
And if we don't, we're going to dwindle to the side and they're just going to not see our value. And especially if we're doing things to go against the development side.
Yeah.
You know, I know there's over 200 at least, I don't know the exact number, 300 agents in Livingston Parish alone. You know how many
that reside in Livingston Parish?
You see how many I see at the parish council meeting?
Two.
Yeah. And I'm not counting myself. There's two others that attend, you know, regularly that are very outgoing in there. And but you know, and I've called them all. I call a lot of them, and they know who they are. And I'm like, I call these brokers, and I'm like, you need to get yourself involved. You need to get your agents involved. And oh yeah, but crickets.
Yeah.
You know. In the meantime, the parish council's over here trying to put you out of job. You know, or take away your livelihood and put restrictions on it. You know, so I don't know. I think I'd want to be more involved.
So being more involved means what? How can someone be more involved?
Be a voice. You know, go on to some of the council meetings. You know, you can go on the website. I don't know the exact names of the websites, but I know Livingston Parish has a website for their parish council, and they post what's going to be on the agenda. They have the ordinance meetings. They say what's going to be on the agenda. Look at those things. See how that may affect you. You may have a client that's, you know, buying a piece of property that he knows is a foot low. Well, right now they're talking about a fill ordinance in Livingston Parish, meaning you can't bring in any dirt. Everything will go to pier and bean. So, I mean,
yeah, that's a big.
Well, yeah, I mean, so
news.
Those are the things that are going to affect us as realtors, you know. So I just ask them, please get involved, be a voice, go to some of the parish council meetings, you know. Hey, maybe skip an agent open house and go to a council meeting. I promise you, you know, you'll get more if we win at these council meetings than you will at an agent open house. You know?
Well, do you mind if an agent watching this wants to reach out?
Absolutely, call me. If you got any questions, I'll tell you. I'll help you. And I do. I help a lot of them. A lot of agents reach out to me and they're like, hey, I got a client, it's got this property. What do you think? And I'm like, you need to go through ABC to see what you can do with it. But it's going to take a lot of agents, you know, in a voice, you know, pushing the agenda that, you know, we can develop smartly, but we can't stop it completely. You know, hey, help show that developer something that he may not know. I mean, you may find a piece of property that's, you know, a gem and bring it to them. But if you know what you're looking for and know a little bit of the guidelines, it'll save you and help you, you know.
Well, I think that anytime we get involved in something, even with me just sitting here talking to you today, I've learned something.
Right.
So I don't think that it's a waste of anyone's time to go to a council meeting. Yes, it might be somewhat boring, but I don't think they're going to walk out not learning something that they didn't know before. And I think that, you know, the education, not just on this topic, but the real estate industry as a whole, we all need to stay educated on all these type of things so that we can, you know, push this industry forward here in Baton Rouge.
I mean, at the end of the day, we got to band together to save this industry. I mean, I can tell you, there's an attack on this industry, and I've only been in the industry 10 years now, but I mean, I've talked to people that are like, I've never seen it like this. I've never, you know, I mean, look, you know, broker sent a message today about the new buyer agent agreement form thing that you got to do, negotiating your commission and all that. I mean, look, you know, when you start, one thing I'll say I know about people, when you start complicating things in their life and making it to where it's this step, this step, this step, they refrain from it. They pull back from it. Okay. And when that happens, you know, they're going to start seeking other avenues. And we see it with realtor.com and all these other companies that are jumping out there that are trying to replace us and push us out. And
I know.
So,
it's tough. It's tough on all sides right now. So, you know, economy and everything, we've all just got to stay relevant to our industry, and we will be valuable to our clients. And
I mean, the market is what it is. We can't change that. But it's what we do in the market that's going to set us up for success or failure. You know, it's what we do now. And I don't think enough of them, enough realtors are taking these ordinances and these things that these councils are doing serious. I mean, If you go look in the MLS, you go look at the top 5 producing agents or companies, DSLD, DR Horton. Look at the volume of number of houses, okay, that they sell. 60, I don't want to throw statistics out there, but I would say more than half of your houses that are sold are new construction. So if you're not selling new constructions, you're in only a 50% pool. So if developers or these builders figure out a way to not utilize agents, and let me tell you, I ain't met a builder yet that ain't asked me how to cut costs.
Yeah. Right.
And so there's going to come a time when they're going to just say, hey, I don't really need the realtor. I can, and you see it. There's so many realtors that'll put your stuff in the MLS for a fee.
Yeah.
But really, what's the value in you? Because you're one of your biggest values is the MLS. Well, now your own friends are cutting you by offering this service for pennies on the dollar. So
I know.
I mean, with the where social media has changed everything from a marketing standpoint. Now, builders and developers, they can reach the consumer directly. Where in the past they needed that realtor to be out there pushing their product and all that. With social media now, everybody sees it. And if you look at most of the posts that are put out there by realtors on new construction are shared from the developer's marketing team or whoever that they have that are promoting their product.
Yeah. So, and a lot of them have their own sales agents.
And they do. I mean, you're right. I mean, look at DR Horton. They've pretty much went to, I don't know their complete process, but from what I understand, if you have a buyer, you pretty much just turn it over to them. They write the contract, they take it out. I mean, so.
Yeah. And I'm sorry for the agent that they may have been working with already because they're out of the deal now.
And lenders, I hear you guys get chopped all the time because you pre-approve them and then the buyer finds a DR Horton or a DSLD and they're like, well, to get this benefit, you got
to get these incentives, you've got to.
What's to say the next incentive is going to be leave your agent and we'll give you a 2% kickback or a 2% on a new refrigerator.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Because, it's hard to work with, but from the lending standpoint, we just have to keep pushing forward and building relationships, even with those sales agents, because DSLD and DR Horton can't do everything. Right. They turn down a lot of people. Those people still need lending. So we just got to push through some of that and keep on going.
Like I said, there'll always be a value for a realtor. But I mean, we have to continue to grow as realtors and continue to show our value. We can't do the same things. I mean, look, some of the older realtors that I know that are getting out of the business and that they can't accept the change of the new technology and all that. I mean, you've seen them getting out with the I don't do Snapchat, I don't do Facebook, I don't do Instagram,
TikTok. I do
video, and, all that. So they're not changing. So if you're not changing, then you're going to be by the wayside before long too.
Right.
Yeah, that's participation in things.
Yeah. And education, I found that a lot of buyers want more education, whether it's from the realtor or the lender. They want to know more about the process and feel more comfortable going into that process. So I hear that a lot. Well, thanks for coming in and talking about this. This has been on my mind for a while since we talked a ways back about this topic.
Right.
I think that's when I found out about the moratorium, actually, is when you told me.
Right.
So I've been wanting to talk about this. I'm glad you came in and shared some value and education on that topic, because I do think this is something that not a lot of people really know about. If they know about it, they're not talking about it.
Right.
Because I'm not hearing anything.
Well, I think that realtors are just, they're busy with everything. And look, I know that most realtors pull 2 jobs, mom and realtor.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to juggle everything, but it's just something that I'd like to, make them aware of, try to, get involved any way you can in your counsel, figure out what's going on. If you have any questions, call me, reach out. You know how to get a hold of me.
Yeah.
I'm not a hard person to find. I think everybody knows.
With Google these days and
Right.
Facebook, you can find out anybody's information. But thank you so much for watching this episode today, talking about the moratorium in Livingston Parish. There's other things that we can do if you don't live in Livingston Parish. Get involved in your own community. Find out what's happening. I know that here in South Louisiana, there's a lot of issues, a lot of things that we need to be educated about, especially in the real estate industry, no matter which part of it that you participate in. And then as a community, as a whole too, just learn about the area that you're living in and what changes are coming down the road. So thanks for having us, and we'll see you next time.